Let's throw some jabs.
The fight starts now!
All right, Sergio, what was briefly set to be one of the best fights on the fall schedule is now gone. Frank Martin will not face Shakur Stevenson for the WBC version of the 135-pound title. This decision by Martin comes days after representatives for PBC and Top Rank agreed upon a deal. Sergio, an understandably frustrated Stevenson took to social media and called Martin a duck for backing out. In your opinion, is Martin ducking Stevenson?
No, he is not. I mean, Frank Martin's a beast. Ask anyone. I mean, this is the legitimate a power puncher, a southpaw, someone that's avoided himself. But look, Shakur Stevenson is one of the most avoided fighters in boxing as well. So this is southpaw versus southpaw. It was going to be an explosive chess match type fight. But no, you can't call Frank Martin a duck. If you look underneath all the factors here, there's a lot at play. Politics is at play. You got PBC versus ESPN. You got Al Heyman versus everyone at the network over there. Then you have the money. The money is always the important part here, underlying factor. We don't know if Shakur was happy with his money. We don't know if it was Frank Martin happy with his money. And ultimately, you got to look at Derek James. Derek James, who trains Frank Martin, has his hands full. He's coming off the biggest fight of the year with Errol Spence. He has Frank Martin, of course. He has Charlo, who's going to fight the #1 fighter in the world, in my eyes. And he has his hands full with Ryan Garcia and everyone else. So the trainer, the politics, just the style matchup, maybe the timing, the money, there's a lot at play here. It's a business here. Boxing is a business. So no, Frank Martin is not a duck. I don't think he'll ever be considered a duck. He is a beast and the future. It's just the wrong timing. It might pick up later, but it wasn't a duck.
Of course it was a duck. Couple things you mentioned. One, PBC versus Top Rank, Showtime versus ESPN. That was all resolved. This was going to be an ESPN broadcast because representatives for Top Rank and PBC negotiated a deal and they agreed it was going to be on ESPN, most likely in November. The money, Frank Martin, I was told, was going to make around $1.5 million. And this was a number that was agreed to by PBC. And Tom Brown, who represented PBC in those negotiations, is not going to agree to a deal that he doesn't believe Frank Martin wants. So I don't believe that the networks or the money had anything to do with it. As far as Derek James go, yeah, Derek James has some high profile clients, but let's not act like he's the first trainer that would have to work with multiple different guys over a period of months. Jermell Charlo fights Canelo at the end of September. Frank Martin would have fought Shakur Stevenson in mid to late November. So that doesn't have anything to do with it in my eyes. I just think Frank Martin, got cold feet in this particular circumstance. I think he saw potentially other pathways to winning a world title. Because if you look at it, Devin Haney is officially no longer the WBC 135-pound champion. In a matter of time, he's going to be giving up the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO belts. Maybe Frank Martin thought that one of those other belts would give him an opportunity to become a world champion a little bit easier. So, that's fine if that's his decision, but the bottom line is there was a deal, Frank Martin backed out, and because he backed out, we can say he ducked Shakur Stevenson.
Only you and every other writer will call a beast and a fighter, a professional fighter and a future champion like Frank Martin and other fighters a duck. That wasn't a duck, it was a business move. If you really look at it, you have to really feel comfortable. Not only the timing, the date, do you have enough time to prepare, the money, is your trainer happy? Everything has to be check, 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 check. So I think Frank Martin, initially, the tough guy in him, the bravado, might have said, yeah, I'll fight anybody. But then once a contract is sent, that's when it becomes real. Yeah, it looks bad, but you can't call a fighter like that a duck, because he has to really talk to his manager, he has to talk to the trainer, talk to his family, talk about everything. Then if it lines up, he accepts the fight. It's a business move here, Mannix. Now, there's a lot of times where fighters, and I've been part of this, they'll accept the fight just because of bravado, machismo. It's the wrong thing to do. I've done that plenty of times. I didn't have enough time to train, but because I didn't want to be called a duck, or a pato in Spanish, I said, yeah, I'll take the fight. Wrong. It was a wrong thing. You only have one career in this move. And if you have one bad choice, one bad style matchup, that's it. You got to take a step back. Look at Erickson Lubin. Excellent example. This guy was ascending exactly like Frank Martin, knocking out everybody, a vicious southpaw. Charlo, on the highest level, got knocked out brutally. Now he has to climb back. It takes a while, but whenever you're that red hot, you got to make the right choice. Frank Martin is red hot. He doesn't want to make that wrong choice against a lethal sniper and a southpaw that makes everyone look bad and everyone is avoiding in Shakur Stevenson.
Okay, hold on. First of all, I don't want to make it sound like I'm disparaging Frank Martin, because I do like him as a fighter, but in what world is he red hot? He had a really good win over Michel Rivera, but in his last fight, he did not look particularly good. So I don't think Frank Martin is red hot right now. He's also not some young prospect. He's 28 years old. Like, he's in the prime of his career. Opportunities like this are what he should be gunning for. And let's stop calling this a business decision. You electing not to face Jermaine Taylor was a business decision. It was stupid, but it was a business decision. Frank Martin had a deal that was going to pay him a career-high purse, and he was going to be in a big-time fight on a big-time platform. Yeah, maybe there's another opportunity for him out there to get a title in an easier way. And I'll say this, if Frank Martin has a deal to fight Gervonta Davis, well, then we're all wrong. But I don't think that's the case. I think Frank Martin's going to fight someone lesser in his next time out, and I think it's going to look bad for him because Shakur is going to be a world champion at 135 before the end of the year, and Frank Martin is not.
All right, you bring up my bad business decision with Jermaine Taylor. That's a great example. Mind you, I only had 17 fights. Jermaine Taylor would have been my 17th fight. He was the undisputed champion of the world. I wasn't ready, Mannix. I wasn't ready. Frank Martin only has 18 fights. Maybe he's not ready. Maybe he's not ready for someone that makes everyone look bad. And Stevenson, this guy's avoided by everyone. He reminds me of Aries Ronnie Lara, only better. I mean, he has an Olympic background. He has a southpaw style. He's a sniper. He's learning how to hurt fighters to the body. No, all wrong for everybody. You don't fight a guy like Stevenson unless you have to. And Frank Martin didn't have to. It was there for the taking. It was
sure he does. He has to. Of course he has to. To become a world champion, you have to beat top guys. Like, look, maybe down the line, he can fight for another version of the title. But right now, he's not in a mandatory position for the IBF title, and he's not in a mandatory position for the WBO title. So unless he gets that fight against Gervonta Davis, he is not going to fight for a world title this year. This was his opportunity at 28 years old to fight for a world title. And Sergio, you keep bringing up, you brought up the Jermaine Taylor one again. Like, of all the regrets you have in your career, God knows there's got to be a lot of them, but of all the regrets you have in your career, where does that rank on the list? If you could go back in time, would you fight Jermaine Taylor?
Yes, I would have fought him because I didn't know he was having that many personal issues outside the ring, and he had all the belts. It was for undisputed. It was history. But I had my personal demons too, Mannix, outside the ring, so don't just act. But look, back to Frank Martin. Maybe at 18 fights, no matter how talented he is, he still has a team behind him. Yeah, he still has a solid, intelligent team that has been in the game for a long time. He knows that fight's going to be there. He knows they know how bad he can look against a fighter like Stevenson. So look. Yeah,
what are you in this game for? What are we doing in boxing? If you only fight the guys you are 100% sure you can beat, what are we doing in boxing?
Well, taking calculated risks. That's what we do in boxing. You take calculated risks to maneuver yourself all the way to a championship. And once you get to the championship, you want to make the most amount of money while you're there. It's not going to last forever, man. It's that window's very short, like you like to hear. But you just got to make a lot of money. One little hiccup will place you 2-3 steps back, and not only in the line in the rankings, but in pay as well. That loss is going to cost you zeros on your paycheck. So I just think it was a bright business decision. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. And you may call him a duck or whatever, but he's going to make enough money to be able to eat foie gras. That's duck liver, by the way.
I would have taken Taylor to beat you.